So, the last time you saw, I was working on the back of the 206. I was in the scrapyard. It was kind of fighting me. We had practically that much to go, and the reciprocating saw stopped working. So I had to come back the following Monday. This was Friday, so I had to wait a couple of days. But we came back, and as you see, we got the piece cut off. So with the piece cut off, we can now start deciphering through all the areas, start detaching the panels, and actually prep this piece for reinstallation onto that chassis that I can't see. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is going to take off the pieces we don't need, take off what we don't want. So we've got spares of hinges and latches and all sorts. What I'm also thinking to do, kind of split this back half to the floor. Reason being, getting this floor into position whilst this is attached is going to be quite difficult. So I'm going to go around the edge and see if I can split that and attach the floor first and then attach the rear. It's going to be a lot of repetitive stuff we've already done. I think without further waiting, let's get on with taking this apart. a lot of progress has happened. Let me show you. So I kind of went ahead and kind of went flat out trying to separate the two pieces, the floor and the rear crash structure. Went alright actually. Literally it's spot welds and then glue. That's all it is. Now we've got the two separated, we can now clean them up. We've already taken off what we don't need on the two corners. All we need to do now is sand back all of this excess glue that's left over, and then once that's done we can then do the same on the floor. And I'm going to try and trim the floor and get that in first. We can then start and see if we can kind of get this on. Now what we've kind of made ourselves a little bit difficult by leaving these pieces on both sides, which is going to make it a lot more difficult to get it into the car, which is a bit of a pain, but there. So we might have to take them off, I don't know. What we could do is we could take the tack welds off here and kind of lean it forward to fit it in, but we'll tackle that after we get the floor in, because the floor kind of needs to go in first because of the way it's sat between this and the frame rail. Speaking of frame rails, we salvaged the one off the spare car because the one on the right side, the far side, with the tow hook is kind of kinked and damaged. Bit of a faff, but yeah, it's getting there slowly. So let's go on to the car next, take off what's left and get the floor in. oh. We actually do have a fire. Whoops. That stinks. Oof. Well, at least it's welded. Guys, check this out, right? I just had a little test fit after welding up, and I did a slight adjustment on this. I moved it slightly in. Watch this now, ready? Like, that's in. The gap's good, gap is good, good here, good here. I mean, come on. And then, it's like it's brand new. There's only a couple of tack welds. We've got a bit of a tack weld there. We've got two underneath. I did start welding up this side because this side was a bit more jacked out. This needed pulling and it was a lot more force, so it was just popping the spot welds. Pretty much seamed welded it. Ignore the snots, it'll be fine. I'll cover that up. But they are now holding that together. This is all now straight. This has actually pushed this out like I was hoping, and the same on this side. It's now straightened everything out. Hallelujah. The floor needs coming up a few mil and spot welding that into place. But what I'm going to do first is weld up the frame rails. These seams down here, around the back as well, on the underside. And once they're done on both sides, we can then sort out these kind of like clams. So they get put into place, spot weld them. Then we go on to seam seal. And then once the seam seal is done, we then primer, paint it. But apart from that, it's actually a lot closer than we think. I was near enough dreading, obviously, getting everything lined up, but as soon as it just popped in like it did, spot welded a few areas and it kind of put together. Even like these little rubber bits, they actually line up spot on with the corresponding pads here. So this thing is now pretty much dialed. Yes, so what we're doing now is just get the frame rails sorted. Once the frame rails are together, smash the rest out, and we can finally get it weatherproof for the first time in probably 3-4 years. So, right, while we're waiting, let's get on with this. So, I think that's the last of the welding, I believe. As you just saw, we got the half clams welded back up. I've just gone around and given a high fill, high build primer all over the seams and underneath as well. All underneath, especially where obviously the raw metal was showing. Hopefully that should hold off any rust and weathering for the time being. So essentially we're kind of more or less on the final stretch. And what we need to do now is to go through every seal, every seam, every panel, and seam seal the hell out of every single bit. We cannot afford any water, moisture, anything coming through. And obviously we got these little body panel pieces here to go. All the seams down there, along here, everywhere. It's gonna be messy. I mean, I've done a bit of work in seam sealing before. It's alright, it's not too bad. But yes. But fast forward to seam sealing. Well, that's one less thing to do. So, as you saw, that is now all the panels glued, seam sealed again. Why not twice? And like a bed undercoat liner as well, like a very thick rubbery tar. I did go a little bit heavy on the amount of bed liner, especially underneath. But when I had this back section and the floor off, as you saw, I was sanding off a lot of the actual sheet metal because it actually had a bit of corrosion, and I brought it back to bare metal, which took the zinc coating off. So with raw metal you kind of need to protect it even more. So obviously I've primed the whole thing with high fill primer. Now I did use the seam seal as an undercoat because it had like a rubbery thick texture, and I thought that would be better than nothing at all. And obviously with this extra black like rubber tar that's now all over the raw metal, which once was, I highly doubt it's gonna rust. If it does, I won't know anything about it because there's so many layers. She isn't gonna win any beauty pageants, but she is solid. Yes. So technically, the car is now weatherproof. Technically. What we need to do now, well actually no, the last thing to do now is to do and finish this off. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's not perfectly smooth because obviously I only grinded it and then I literally just chucked a bit of primer over the top just to stop it from rusting whilst it's stored outside. So what we need to do really, filler, sand it and get this nice and smooth and flush, because that's a bit of a lip. Same on the other side, and kind of that's the last piece really to do in order to get this car a smooth flowing shape. That makes sense. I don't even make sense to myself sometimes. Hello, future me here. Basically, I just realised whilst editing this is past me is an idiot and didn't film a proper outro, and also past me changed the entire plan after that last clip. We're saving that bit of bodywork for another video, the painting, the kind of the aesthetics of the entire car. So we're just gonna make it kind of sealed, weatherproof for now. So guys, that will be it for this video. Next video, we're going to be tackling brakes and suspension. Basically, getting it back on the ground, getting it rolling, getting it basically all bolted on and fitted so we can actually drive the car very soon. But until then, that is it for now. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye for now.
Just one more time.